Chapter 1. The weight of the pause. It was a weird day at work. Her schedule was full. But Veronica finally had the Easter schedule in her hands, 10 full days off. 6 months, Veronica told herself. 6 grueling months, half a year without a single touch of him. She missed the quiet, grounding comfort of Eric, just pulling her close in the dark. Pure relief hit her so hard that tears nearly came. As she stared at the screen, a bright, happy thought slipped in. I won't tell him a word, I'll surprise him, I'll just show up at home. Veronica told herself, smiling to herself. The entire day passed in a buzz of secret excitement. Veronica's mind raced. She crafted the perfect scene over and over. I will just walk right in, she promised herself. Veronica pictured the quiet cab ride from the airport, then the soft click of the front door opening. She could almost hear her bags landing in the hallway, louder than usual in the stillness of the house. Eric? She would call, half laughing already. In her mind, he stepped out of his home office and just stopped for one beautiful second. That calm face of his gave everything away. Before he could even ask how she had managed to get the time off, she ran to him. I missed you. Straight into his arms. And of course he caught her. He always did. His arms came around her at once, strong and sure, like her place was already known there. She pressed her face into his neck and breathed him in, that clean, familiar smell that always undid her a little. Just like that. The tiredness, the cold, the distance, all of it seemed to fall away. When the phone finally rang that night, her hands were shaking. Veronica pressed the earbuds to her ears and bit the inside of her cheek, trying to keep her voice steady. She had wanted to hold on to her beautiful secret. She loved knowing she was flying home for Easter while he had no idea. Half the joy was in the surprise. Hello? The sound of Eric's voice broke her at once. That deep, familiar voice shattered her plan completely. She could not hold the secret in for even one more second. I'm coming home for Easter, Veronica burst out. I got the schedule. She was grinning so hard her cheeks hurt, her voice shook with pure happiness. Eric, I have the whole week off, I'm coming home. Then she waited for his response. Suddenly, an uneasy feeling took hold, her chest tightened. She held a desperate breath, waiting for his deep voice to gasp or break into sudden happiness. Instead, her excitement shattered against a wall of cold silence. There was no joy. There was only a terrible, heavy pause on the line. Eric? Veronica asked softly. Are you there? When Eric finally spoke, his tone was very careful and guarded. He did not sound angry or cruel. He sounded like a man drowning in logistics and exhaustion. I've been swamped lately. Remember that acquisition I told you about? It's going through now. A lot of work, he said. And then he said the words that broke her. When do you plan to get here? Eric asked. His voice was entirely flat. Is it even worth it for 4 days? 2 of those days will just be wasted on flights, won't they? He didn't even hear that I got the whole week off. Veronica thought, full of self-pity. Her smile disappeared. The rejection did not just hurt, it landed like a heavyweight. Her heart dropped cold and hard straight into her stomach. A hollow ache spread through her chest. All the beautiful plans she had been holding on to vanished in a second. I guess so, she whispered, hopeless now. The words felt like ash in her mouth. Okay, Eric, I get it. Veronica bit down on the inside of her cheek. She bit so hard that she tasted the metallic tang of blood. She focused every ounce of her will on one goal. She had to keep her tears from bleeding into the phone line. Veronica clamped a hand over her throat to stop any sound. A frightening certainty took hold of her. She took one deep breath. Her voice would break into 1,000 pathetic pieces. But tonight, the sudden, sharp sting of his rejection scrubbed her mind completely blank. Her frantic need to entertain him simply evaporated usually. She acted as the energetic wife, constantly bridging the gap. Veronica had nothing left to give to a stone wall. A deep urge to push back surged in her chest. "I have the entire week off." She wanted to yell, "Why are you shutting me out, Eric?" But as he kept speaking, she paused. She listened closely. She heard the raw, bone-deep exhaustion hiding underneath his polite excuses. But as he kept speaking, she paused. She listened closely. She heard the raw, bone-deep exhaustion hiding underneath his polite excuses. Instantly, her anger drained away. The old, deeply ingrained habit of putting his needs first took over. She completely buried her personal hurt as usual. Veronica swallowed the heavy lump in her throat and forced her tone to soften. "You sound so tired," she told him gently. "Go to bed, Eric. We will catch up tomorrow." Veronica forced herself to detach. She treated the painful conversation the best way she knew how. She treated it like a surgery. "A clean cut," she murmured to herself. "I just need to stop the bleeding." But this time, she was both the surgeon holding the scalpel and the patient lying on the operating table. "Goodbye," Eric replied quietly. He sounded painfully relieved. She pulled her earbuds out and pressed the end button. The faint static cut off instantly. The freezing, absolute silence of the apartment rushed back in. It left her sitting entirely alone in the dark. Veronica crawled under her stiff blankets, but sleep absolutely refused to come. She took deep, heavy breaths. She tried counting backward. 100, 99, 98. She whispered into the empty room. Nothing could anchor her scattered, racing mind. Her skin burned feverishly hot with the stinging pressure of tears. Still, she stubbornly refused to shed them. Veronica sat alone in the dark, turning his excuse over and over in her mind. To her, Easter was not some surprise. It was a major holiday, a long break people could see coming. If Eric really wanted to see me, he could have kept those dates free. Veronica whispered into the empty room. He always knew I might get the time off. Blaming the corporate acquisition did not sound like a man asking for patience. It sounded like a man laying down bricks on purpose. In her eyes, he was building a wall, not a bridge, making the cruel distance between them feel even worse. Veronica painfully closed her eyes. She desperately tried to put herself in his shoes. "Is there something else?" Veronica wondered out loud, her voice breaking in the quiet room. "Is there something he's just not telling me?" Eric was born into a wealthy family, but he never wanted to be just a trust fund son coasting in his father's empire. He fought hard for his own identity. He built a highly successful medical software firm entirely from the ground up. Veronica remembered the day his father first pushed the massive merger agreement. Eric paced across their quiet living room. His jaw remained tight with stress after the heavy phone call with his father. "I will respectfully decline his offer," Eric said calmly. He stopped walking and looked directly at her. "I can't accept this merger. I need to build my own." He paused. The heavy tension slowly left his shoulders as he stepped toward her. "No," Eric corrected himself softly. He reached out and pulled Veronica firmly against him. "Our legacy." Veronica smiled and wrapped her arms around his waist. She rested her face against his warm chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. Eric wrapped his arms securely around her shoulders. He held her close, his lips hovering gently over her hair. He did not need to make a grand romantic speech. In the quiet room, his tight, warm embrace made her feel completely safe and loved. But then his mother fell suddenly, terribly ill. The blinding grief and chaotic fallout changed everything. The crisis dragged Eric right back into the suffocating web of family obligations. Veronica sat on the edge of her bed and wiped a straight tear. She secretly hated the merger. Their small, independent life remained so precious to her. They were completely free of those heavy family strings back then. "I can't drive a wedge between a father and his son," Veronica told herself firmly. "Not during a family crisis." So, she swallowed back what she really felt and forced a brave, supportive smile to hide the sting of letting go. Eric's medical software company was never just his solo achievement. She had poured herself into it. 2 long nights, tired minds, problem after problem, and all the early work they did side by side. When Eric first made those games to help her study and remember things, neither of them thought it would turn into a multi-million-dollar business. "We built that foundation together," she whispered into the empty room. A heavy ache sat in her chest. Even their beautiful Manhattan apartment was not a flashy gift from his rich parents. They worked hard and bought it. It was a true, hard-won victory for just the two of them. Now, sitting alone in the dark, she felt like his powerful family had swallowed all of their beautiful work whole. Veronica stared at the cold phone in her hand. The dream was to be equal partners. But tonight, she did not feel like a partner at all. "Does he think of our home as only his now?" she thought bitterly. "Am I just someone turning up at the wrong time?" She felt like an inconvenience, like a burden he no longer had room for. Eric had never been a man of many words. That part was not new. However, their nightly calls had slowly mutated. Veronica felt less like a marriage and more like a heavy, obligatory duty. Night after night, Veronica became the sole performer. "It rained all day here," she normally announced with bright energy. "And you will not believe the chaos in the surgical ward today." She constantly scrambled to carry 80% of the conversation. She desperately threw hospital anecdotes, weather updates, and forced cheer into the dead air. It was an exhausting struggle to keep the fragile thread connected. She did it all just to hear his steady breathing on the other end. Finally, desperate for an escape, Veronica pushed the covers aside. She sat up and picked up her acoustic guitar. She rested it on her lap and started to play. Her fingers instinctively found the chords to her dad's favorite song. It was called "Am I That Easy to Forget?" It was an old track by the American singer Jim Reeves. He was an artist who found far more love across the globe than in his own country. She softly hummed the familiar, melancholy tune in the dark. Slowly, the gentle music started to bleed the heavy panic right out of her chest. As her racing thoughts finally began to settle, a hard clarity came over her. She rested her hands on the guitar strings and let the last chord fade. "When I say I'm coming home, do you feel it too?" she whispered into the empty room. Her hand tightened around the neck of the guitar, then guilt hit her sharply. Why am I blaming him? Veronica thought bitterly. I chose this rural assignment. I was the one who stepped back. I was the one who wanted to give him space to figure out what he wanted. Taking this position had been her choice. Accepting the head surgeon promotion out here provided the perfect cover story. It bought physical space for both without feeding the vicious, whispering rumors back home. She had made it with her eyes open. She loved Eric deeply, but she did not want him staying with her out of duty. They had married young. Sometimes she wondered whether he still loved her the same way, or whether history, loyalty, and habit were carrying more of the marriage than either of them wanted to admit. That was what frightened her. She did not want him staying because leaving would feel heartless after all they had been through. However much she loved him, she wanted him to choose her freely, not because of the years behind them, or due to obligation. The cost of that noble choice, however, was brutal. The rural isolation crushed her. The loneliness was no longer just a sadness. It was a constant, physical ache, sitting right behind her ribs. She survived the freezing winter strictly by feeding on sweet, fading memories. Every day was an exhausting fight to lock away her own feelings, terrified by the dark, looming question mark at the end of their marriage. She felt trapped between two painful paths. One part of her wanted to give him the freedom to choose his life honestly. Another part of her was far more human. She just wanted to hold on to the man she loved, the man she had married and shared her life with. Worn out by it all, she set the guitar aside and went to the small kitchen. Veronica made a cup of warm Ayurvedic herbal tea and stood there for a moment, breathing in the earthy smell. Little by little, it calmed her enough to lie down. After 1 in the morning, she finally fell into a restless sleep.
You've always stood beside me in ways I can't deny. You helped me keep things steady. You stayed when times were tight. You carried more than I could. You gave me room to grow. And I will never question all the ways you've shown. But somewhere in the middle of everything we built, I started feeling smaller in ways I never felt. Like what I bring decides me, like what I do comes first, and who I am beneath it somehow matters less. When I say I'm coming home, do you feel it too? Do you open up the door like you used to do? Or does something in you pause before you let me in? Like I'm stepping into something I don't quite fit within. I'm not trying to accuse you or turn this into blame. I know you never meant it to feel this way, but I don't know if you see me beyond what I can give, or if I'm only part of this when everything fits. When I say I'm coming home, do you feel it too? Do you open up the door like you used to do? Or does something in you pause before you let me in? Like I'm stepping into something I don't quite fit within. I don't want to earn my place inside what we once called ours. I don't want to feel I have to measure who we are. I just need to know I'm here, not because I prove, but because I'm part of you, the way you are of me too. So when I say I'm coming home, I hope it feels the same. Not something we adjust around or quietly rearrange, just something we both know without needing to explain.